हाथ में रखा है, समंदर के तह में चला जाता है। क्यों? इसलिए कि वो डेवलप होता चला गया। नहीं तेरा नशेमन कसरे सुल्तानी के गुंबद पर, तू शाही है बसेरा कर पहाड़ों की चट्टानों पर। जो रुकना नहीं है तो इंसान है। अल्लाह तबारक व तआला ने तेरे अंदर इतनी पोटेंशियल अदा की है, इतनी गुंजाइश दी है कि यू कैन फ्लाई 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 फ्लाई, तो आगे बढ़ता चला जाता, रुकना नहीं। जो रुक गया वो नाकाम, जो आगे बढ़ गया वो कामयाब। अगर आप कामयाब होना चाहते हैं तो आगे बढ़ना है, रुकना नहीं। इसीलिए इमाम फरमाते हैं 2 दिन हमारे इक्वल नहीं होना चाहिए। आज का दिन कल से बेहतर, आने वाला कल आज से बेहतर। आज आपने फर्स्ट स्टैंडर्ड पढ़ा है, कल सेकेंड स्टैंडर्ड पढ़ते आगे बढ़ते चले जाना। किसी तरह की कोई जो है रुकावट हमारे पास नहीं होना चाहिए। इंसान के अंदर पोटेंशियल है, इस पोटेंशियल को आगे बढ़ाना जरूरी है। वो एक सवाल है कि अल्लाह तबारक व तआला ने अक्ल दी है, तो सारी अक्ल काफी है क्या? आप गए और जाने के बाद आपने बेहतरीन लाइट को खरीद लिया, घर बुला के लाइट रख देने से उजाला आता है। लाइट को करंट से मिलाएंगे तो उजाला है, अक्ल को इल्म से मिलाएंगे तो उजाला है। अक्ल के चिराग को इल्म का तेल डालना जरूरी है। जितना आप उसे तेल डालते रहेंगे इल्म का तेल, उतना आपकी अक्ल क्या होते जाएगी? परवरिश पाएगी, डेवलप होगी, और आप नए नए मराहिल को तय करते हुए चले जाएंगे। क्या बात है कि एक घर के 4 भाई, एक साइंटिस्ट है, एक डॉक्टर है, एक इंजीनियर है, एक मजदूर है, एक ही माँ बाप के बच्चे हैं। जिसने इल्म से चिराग को रोशन किया वो साइंटिस्ट बन गया, जिसने इल्म हासिल नहीं किया वो मजदूर बन गया। अक्ल काफी नहीं है, अक्ल को इल्म के चिराग की जरूरत है। जितना इल्म के चिराग, इल्म के जरिए से चिराग को रोशन करेंगे, उतना डेवलप होंगे, उतना आप आगे बढ़ते चले जाएंगे। ये मत देखो कि वो बगैर इल्म के कमाया है। कमाना कमाल नहीं है, इंसान बनना कमाल है। इल्म को हासिल करना है, कैरेक्टर्स को हासिल करना है, इंसानियत को हासिल करना है। इसी की कीमत है, इसी की कदर है, इसी की वैल्यू है जिस इंसान के पास। हाँ, जब इंसान अक्ल को इल्म के जरिए से रोशन करता है तो वो इंसान कामयाब हो जाता है इस दुनिया में, और उसकी कामयाबी भी आगे बढ़ती चली जाती है। तो जाहिर सी बात है, इंसान है तो अल इंसान मिनल निस्यान, इंसान के अंदर जो है क्या है? खुलापा है, गलतियां हैं, मिस्टेक्स होते। अगर मिस्टेक ना हो तो वो मासूम कहलाता है। मिस्टेक तो होते, लेकिन मिस्टेक को क्या करना है? करेक्शन करना। जो छोटे बच्चे होते हैं ना, उनको क्या किया जाता है? पेंसिल। पेंसिल में क्या होता है? सामने से पीछे रबर होता है, लिखते जाओ। अगर कहीं पर गलती हो गई तो पीछे से इस्तेमाल करके उसे रब करो, सही कर लो। अगर मिस्टेक पर मिस्टेक करेंगे तो फिर जो है वो मिस्टेक सही होने वाले नहीं है। न हो जिससे कभी गलती उसे रहमान कहते हैं, जो गलती करके बचता है उसे इंसान कहते हैं, जो गलती पर करे गलती उसे हैवान कहते हैं, जो गलती करके अकड़ जाए उसे शैतान कहते हैं। देखिए, रहमान किसे कहते हैं, इंसान किसे कहते हैं, हैवान किसे कहते हैं, शैतान किसे। हम इंसान हैं। इंसान का मतलब है कि हमारे जिंदगी में गलती होती है, पर फौरन क्या होना? तौबा करना चाहिए, अपने गलती को इस्लाह कर लेना चाहिए। गलती को इस्लाह कर लेंगे तो फिर सही रास्ते पे। इंसान लाइक ए वाइट पेपर, हमारी पूरी जिंदगी जो है वाइट पेपर की मानंद है, और जो है इसमें अगर ये गलती होती है तो एक डार्ट, सियाह डार्ट जो है, ब्लैक डार्ट उसमें आ जाता है, उसे फौरन तौबा के जरिए से पाक करना। चलिए, ह्यूमन वैल्यूज में हो गया एक सलात पढ़ो। दीन مسلمانوں کو انسانی ویلیوز کو بہت بتائیں، اپنے ماں باپ کے ساتھ کیسے، اپنے دوستوں کے ساتھ کیسے، اپنے رشتہ داروں کے ساتھ کیسے، اپنے مسلمان بھائیوں کے ساتھ کیسے، غیر مسلمس کے ساتھ ان کو کیسے زندگی گزارنا چاہیے۔ چھٹے امام امام جعفر صادق علیہ السلام کا ارشاد کہ اگر 1,00,000 کے بستی میں کوئی ایک ہمارا چاہنے والا ہو، کتنا؟ 1,00,000 غیر قوم ہے، غیر مسلم سے نان مسلم سے، اس میں ایک امام کا چاہنے والا ہے، محب ہے، شیعہ ہے، تو امام کہتے ہیں کہ اس ایک محب پہ حیدر کرار اور شیعہ علی کے پاس ایسے ویلیوز اور ایسے کیریکٹرز ہونا چاہیے کہ پورے لاکھ کے شہر والے کہیں کہ پورے شہر میں بہترین انسان یہ ہے۔ ہمارے کیریکٹرز اتنے بلند و بالا ہونے چاہیے۔ ابھی یہ زمانہ جس زمانے میں آپ زندگی گزار رہے ہیں، وہ زمانہ کون سے امام سے منسوب ہے؟ حضرت امام مہدی عجل اللہ تعالی فرجہ الشریف۔ وہ پردے غیب ہے، غیبت کبریٰ میں دنیا والے ان کی طرف رجوع نہیں کر سکتے، ہے نا؟ ہدایت تو کرنا چاہیے، اب ہدایت ان تک پہنچنا ہے۔ دنیا والے جو آپ کے علاوہ ہیں لاکھوں کروڑوں اربوں کی تعداد میں، امام کو کیسے پہچانے ہو؟ امام کہتے ہیں کہ ہمارے چاہنے والے شیعہ وہ پتوں کی مانند ہیں۔ آپ لیب میں کیا کرتے ہیں؟ پتے سامنے رکھتے ہیں، سائنس کے سبجیکٹ میں پریکٹیکل جب ہوتا ہے، کہتے ہیں بیٹے بتاؤ یہ کون سا پتا ہے؟ یہ آم کا پتا ہے، یہ جام کا پتا ہے، یہ انگور کا پتا ہے، یہ فلاں کا پتا ہے۔ آپ پتوں کو دیکھ کر درخت کی نشاندہی کرتے ہیں۔ امام کہتے ہیں ہمارے غیبت میں ہمارے شیعوں کے اخلاق کو دیکھ کر ہمارے اخلاق کو پہچانتے ہیں۔ ان کے اخلاق اتنے اچھے ہیں تو امام کیسے ہوں گے؟ ویلیوز آپ کے اتنے زیادہ ہونے چاہیے، ہے نا؟ اخلاق اتنے زیادہ ہونا چاہیے، صفات اتنے پیارے ہونا چاہیے۔ لوگ کہیں کہ یہ اتنا اچھا علم رکھتا ہے تو اس کا امام کا علم کیسا ہوگا، اس کا زہد ایسا ہے تو امام کا زہد کیسا ہونا چاہیے، اس کا تقویٰ ایسا ہے تو امام کا تقویٰ کیسے ہونا چاہیے، اس کے اخلاق ایسے ہیں تو امام کے اخلاق کیسے ہونا چاہیے، اس کی طاقت ایسی ہے تو امام کی طاقت کیسے ہونا چاہیے۔ لہٰذا یہ ذمہ داری یہی بنتی ہے کہ ہم کو عاشقان امام ہونے کے ناطے اپنے اخلاق اور اپنے ویلیوز کو صحیح کرنا، ٹھیک کرنا، تاکہ دنیا ہمارے ویلیوز، ہمارے اخلاق، ہمارے کردار کو دیکھ کے پہچانے کہ یہ قوم مہذب ہے، با ادب ہے، با اخلاق ہے، صفات اس کے اعلیٰ ہیں، لہٰذا ان کی طرف ہم کو رجوع کرنا چاہیے۔ ہمیں صرف امامت نہیں کرنا چاہیے، دنیا اماموں میں بن کے نہیں رہنا چاہیے، دنیا کی امامت کرنا ہمارا فرض ہے اور ہماری ذمہ داری ہے۔ لہٰذا اپنی زندگی میں کوشش کریں، ڈیولپ کریں ویلیوز کو۔ اگر کوئی ایک بچہ آپ کے گھر سے، آپ کا چھوٹا سا بچہ بغیر ناشتہ کر کے گھر سے اسکول کو چلا جاتا ہے تو ماں باپ تڑپ تڑپ کے گھر کو کہاں جاتے ہیں؟ اسکول کو جاتے ہیں، اور پرنسپل سے کہتے ہیں سر ہمارا بچہ بغیر ناشتے کے چلا گیا ہے، پلیز ایک 10 منٹ کے لیے بھیج دیجیے ناشتہ کھلا کے۔ تو یہ ماں باپ کیا کر رہے ہیں؟ آپ کے جسم کے ضعف کو، کمزوری کو احساس کر رہے ہیں، اسے دور کر رہے ہیں۔ اب آپ بتاؤ، دوپہر کی نماز نہیں پڑھے تو تمہارا امی ابا یہ رو دے میرا بیٹا نماز نہیں پڑھا۔ جو تڑپ ناشتہ نہ کھانے سے ہے، وہی تڑپ نماز پڑھنے سے بھی، نہ پڑھنے سے بھی ہونا چاہیے۔ تب دیکھو معاشرہ کیسے بدلتا، کیسے ویلیوز آ رہا۔ بچہ جھوٹا ہو گیا ہے، بچہ جو ہے شریر ہو گیا ہے، تو ایسے صورت میں ماں باپ کو تڑپ ہونا چاہیے کہ میرے بچے میں کیا ہے ڈیولپ ہونا؟ ہیومن ویلیوز۔ آپ کی زندگی میں جتنے ہیومن ویلیوز ڈیولپ ہوں گے اتنا آپ کامیاب ہوں گے۔ والعصر، سب لوگ پڑھیے، ان الانسان الا الذین خدا زمانے کی قسم کھا کے کہہ رہا ہے، زمانے کی قسم انسان کیا ہے؟ خسران کی بھی الگ الگ قسمیں ہیں. آپ بتاؤ خصوصاً نوجوان 100 روپے لے جا کے 100 روپے شام میں دن بھر کام کر کے واپس آئے تو گھاٹے میں ہے نہیں؟ وہ بھی گھاٹا ہے. 100 کا 100 گھر کا بچہ گھر کو واپس آئے کچھ کمایا ہے نہیں وہ بھی لاس میں. 100 کا اگر 80 واپس لے کر آیا وہ بھی لاس میں. لیکن خسران یہ لاس میں نہیں. خسران ایسے گھاٹے کو کہتے ہیں کہ جہاں پر گئے کروڑ پتی آئے زیرو پتی, لٹ کے آگے. وہ کون سا بزنس ہے؟ بس کرو کہ آپ نے برف کو آئس ہے نا بزنس ہوتا نا اس کا, بلا آئس لے کر آئے, لے آنے کے بعد کہاں رکھ دیا آپ نے؟ دھوپ میں رکھا. دھیرے دھیرے 10-11 بجے 12 بجے کیا ہو جاتا ہے؟ پورا پانی ہو جاتا ہے. ویلا ہی ہے پورا کا پورا جو کیا ہو جاتا ہے ختم ہو جاتا ہے. اسے بولتا ہے خسران. اللہ نے آپ کے اندر ایک سرمایہ دیا ہے, ویلیوز دیے ہیں, اگر ان ویلیوز کو ڈیولپ نہ کریں تو خسران ہے, خسران مبین. جس طرح سے برف پگھل جانے کے بعد انسان کا سارا پیسہ کیا ہو جاتا ہے؟ بیکار ہو جاتا ہے. اسی طرح سے اگر انسان ہیومن ویلیوز کو اگر نہ بڑھائے پوری طرح سے وہ کیا ہو جاتا ہے؟ فنش ہو جاتا ہے. چلیے اگر خسران سے بچنا ہے, لاس سے بچنا ہے تو آپ کو 4 چیزوں کی ضرورت ہے. اِلَّا الَّذِينَ وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالْحَقِّ وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالصَّبْرِ. کون سب سے پہلا؟ If you want to become a successful student, successful businessman, successful doctor, successful engineer, successful professor, lecturer, عالم, شاعر, ذاکر, جو بھی آپ اپنے فیلڈ میں سکسیس ہونا چاہتے ہیں تو 4 چیزوں کی ضرورت ہے. ایک ایمان, فیتھ. آپ کے کام میں آپ کو ایمان نہیں ہے تو آپ کامیاب ہونے والے میرے ہاتھ سے سائنس پڑھنے نہیں ہوتا. سائنس پڑھنے والے وہ ڈاکٹر بننے والا میرے ہاتھ سے ڈاکٹر نہیں, میں ڈاکٹر پڑھوں گا. ڈاکٹر ایو مولوی صاحب پڑھنا ہوتا نہیں, بات 2000 میرے سامنے کھڑ کے بولنے نہیں ہوتا, بیان کرنا ہوتا. ہمارا سے سمجھ سوکھ جاتی ہے, کچھ ہو جاتا ہے. میں مولوی صاحب بننے والا گیا. جہاں پر آپ فیل گیا نا آپ کو آپ کے کام کے اوپر دکان کھولنے سے پہلے یہ چلتا ہے. دکان میں کپڑے کا دکان ہے, علیپور میں 11 دکانوں میں ہمارا دکان چلتا ہے کیا, ہارڈ ویئر چلتا ہے کیا. کھولنے سے پہلے ٹرسٹ چلے گا تمہارا ایمان تو کامیاب ہونے والے ہیں نہیں. یہ ہوتا ہے, یہ کر سکتا ہوں, میں کروں گا تب جا کے کامیاب. بس ایمان آمنو. سیکنڈ, خالی بیٹھ کے ایمان رکھ لے تو کافی. وعملوا الصالحات. آج آپ بیٹھ کے I want to become doctor, I want to become doctor, I want to become doctor, کتابیں رکھ کے روز جا کے زیارت کرے تو ڈاکٹر بننے والے پریکٹس کریں. ہارڈ ورک نہیں تو کیا بننا ہے؟ I want ڈاکٹر تو بننا ہے, ڈاکٹر. دوسرا تو معلومات, فیتھ اینڈ پریکٹس. تیسرا وتواصوا بالحق. جو کام آپ کرنا چاہ رہے ہیں رائٹ پاتھ ہونا چاہیے, جو بھی ہو رائٹ پاتھ, غلط راستہ نہیں. اهدنا الصراط. اس کے بعد وتواصوا بالصبر. اور تمہارے کام میں ریزسٹنس ہونا چاہیے, پیشنس ہونا چاہیے آپ کے پاس. درمیان میں اپ اور ڈاؤنس آتے ہیں لیکن کیا ہے, گھبرانا نہیں. ہمت بلند اور کے از ہمت بلند مردان روزگار میں جانی نصیحت. پروردگار ہم کو عقیدت زمانے میں خسران مبین سے بچنے کے لیے 4 چیزوں کی ضرورت ہے. یہ 4 چیزیں عطا فرمائے. سب سے پہلا سوال آخر کرتے خسران سے بچنے کے لیے 4 چیزوں کی ضرورت ہے. سب نہیں کہنا, پہلے ہاتھ اٹھاؤ, وہ چھوٹا سا بچہ. ہاں ماشاء اللہ, سلام پڑھے محمد. فیتھ, دوسرا کہتا پریکٹس, رائٹ پاتھ اینڈ ریزسٹنس. ہو گیا. دوسرا ہے, دوسرا سوال, انسان اشرف المخلوقات کیوں ہے, کس وجہ ویری گڈ. اختیار کی وجہ سے. مخلوقات میں اگر کسی کو اختیار ہے وہ کون ہے؟
سید محمد عباس. سید جعفر حسین.
سید سبحان علی.
سبحان. کوئی بچہ ایک سوال کر سکتا ہے. آپ کے پاس میرا 2 منٹ باقی رہ گئے. اسی ٹاپک پر ایک سوال آپ لوگ کر سکتے ہیں. یہ انڈیا کا عموماً علی پور کا خصوصاً بچوں میں سوال کرنے کی گنجائش بہت کم ہوتی ہے. سوال کرنا ہے اندر آپ کے پاس جو ہے وہ ابلنا ہے. ہمیشہ سوال کرنے کا ٹیلنٹ آپ کے پاس ہوتا ہے جو ہمارے نہ ہندوستان میں ہے اور نہ ہی علی پور میں. اور جس ٹاپک پہ آپ سن رہے ہیں آپ کے اندر سوالات شروع ہو جاتے ہیں. مثلا ایران ہے وہاں پہ ایک آدھے گھنٹے کی تقریر کریں تو 25 سوالات ہوتے ہیں 25 اشکالات. چلو ہم ایک طریقہ.
السلام علیکم. آپ نے کہا کہ سکسیس کے لیے 4 things are necessary: ایمان, ہارڈ ورک, رائٹ پاتھ اینڈ پیشنس. اگر کسی کے پاس ایمان ہو, پریکٹس ہو, اگر رائٹ پاتھ اور پیشنس ہو تو اس کا کیا ہوتا ہے؟
دیکھیے سکسیسفل ریٹ کم ہو جاتا ہے اس کا. اگر انسان 100% اگر سکسیس ہونا چاہے تو 4 چیزوں کی ضرورت ہے. ان میں سے یہ کم ہو گیا ہے, 2 کم ہو گیا, یہ کمی ہو گئی تو اس کا سکسیس ریٹ کم ہو جائے. کوشش کرنا چاہتے ہیں. السلام علیکم.
سید میں ہوں حسین.
چوتھا سوال یہ کہ میں نے ایک شعر پڑھا تھا. انسان, حیوان اور ہے رحمان کی سلسلے میں. اگر کوئی پڑھ سکتا ہے
جو غلطی نہ کریں اسے حیوان کہتے ہیں, جو غلطی کر کے پچھتائے اسے انسان کہتے ہیں, جو غلطی پہ کرے اسے حیوان کہتے ہیں, جو غلطی کر کے اکڑ جائے اسے شیطان کہتے ہیں. محمد ظاہر صناف نادر حسین.
4 سوالات لیڈیز کے لیے.
پہلا سوال ہے خواتین کے لیے. پروردگار عالم نے کتنے مخلوقات پیدا کیے ہیں اور ان مخلوقات کے نام کیا ہیں؟
السلام علیکم. 3 مخلوقات ہیں. اللہ نے 3 مخلوقات کو انسان کو یہ کیا ہے, ملائک, حیوان اور انسان. ملائک میں یہ فرق ہے ان میں عقل ہوتی ہے لیکن چاہت نہیں ہوتی. حیوان میں صرف چاہت ہوتی ہے. انسان میں عقل بھی ہے اور چاہت بھی ہے.
آپ کا نام؟
سید افشان باقری, ڈاکٹر آف اشفاق باقری.
دوسرا سوال ہے جمادات, نباتات اور حیوانات میں کیا فرق ہے؟ جمادات, نباتات اور حیوان میں کیا فرق ہے؟ کیا خصوصیت ہے جمادات کی, نباتات کی؟ دیکھیں مائک کا کچھ پرابلم ہو رہا ہے کیا؟
ہلو, آواز آ رہی ہے ہماری؟
جمادات, نباتات اور حیوان.
سوال دوہرا سکتے ہیں؟
جمادات, نباتات اور حیوان ان میں کیا خصوصیت ہے اور ایک مثال کے ذریعے سے سمجھائیں.
جمادات وہ ہیں جو بڑھتے نہیں ہیں. نباتات وہ ہیں جو بڑھتے ہیں اور لیکن موو نہیں کرتے ہیں. حیوان وہ ہیں جو گرو بھی کرتے ہیں, موو بھی کرتے ہیں. لیکن انسان اشرف المخلوقات ہے کیونکہ اس کے پاس موو کر کے, گرو کر کے اور عقل بھی ہے.
تیسرا سوال ہے انسان اور حیوان میں کیا فرق ہے؟
نام سید فری زینب, ڈاکٹر آف قرآن, سید علی.
تیسرا سوال ہے کہ انسان اور حیوان میں کیا فرق ہے؟ وہ کون سی چیز ہے جو انسان میں ہے اور حیوان میں نہیں ہے؟
مولانا سوال کر رہا ہے.
انسان اور حیوان ما الفرق بين الإنسان والحيوان؟
इंसान अशरफुल मखलूक़ात है।
क्या फर्क है?
इंसान अक्ल रखता है।
हाँ, इंसान अक्ल रखता है, शऊर रखता है, और हैवान में शऊर और अक्ल
नहीं रखता।
आखिरी सवाल।
नाम सैयदा सानिया ज़हरा, डॉटर ऑफ सैयद खतीब रज़ा।
आखिरी सवाल ये कि इंसान की अक्ल का सरमाया, इंसान अगर अक्ल को डेवलप करना चाहता है तो उसको किस चीज की जरूरत है? सारे इंसानों के पास अक्ल है, लेकिन ये इंसान जो है डॉक्टर इंजीनियर बनता है, ये नहीं बनता। किस वजह से?
सलाम अलैकुम।
वालेकुम सलाम।
आप सवाल दोहरा सकते हैं?
अक्ल को डेवलप करने के लिए किस चीज की जरूरत है? चिराग को तेल की जरूरत है, तो अक्ल को किसकी जरूरत है? इसमें देते हैं
अक्ल से इल्म को मिलाना है।
अक्ल को इल्म के जरिए से क्या करना है? मिलाना है। अगर इल्म है तो आपने डेवलप होती है, वरना वो दिमाग खा जाता है। ठीक, आपका नाम?
सैयद आलिया फातिमा, डॉटर ऑफ मीर सफी अहमद।
अस्सलाम वालेकुम व रहमतुल्लाहि व बरकातहू।
हम शुक्रगुजार हैं हज़रत इस्लाम मौलाना अज़हर हुसैन आबदी साहब का, मेंबर और बोर्ड गवर्नमेंट ऑफ कर्नाटका का, अपनी मसरूफियात के बावजूद हमारी दावत को शक्रियत अदा कर स्टूडेंट्स को बेहतरीन अंदाज में इस टॉपिक पर रोशनी डाली। आइए हम अपने दूसरे स्पीकर्स पर इंट्रोड्यूस करते हैं। प्रोफेसर डॉक्टर तुराब ज़ैदी is a lecturer and research engineer within the School of Aerospace Engineering at the Georgia Institute of Technology. He obtained his PhD in 2016 and then began lecturing at JT Laurent, France. He was the primary focal in establishing the first ever aerospace research lab at JT Laurent with grant from EU Commission and won GT's Best Professor Award. Returning to Atlanta in 2021, he continues to teach and conducts research with aerospace systems, design, laboratory supporting two NASA environmental and sustainable aviation projects. He has strong passion for teaching. We are honored and blessed to have you with us. Over to you, sir.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Good morning, everyone. My name is Turab. I'm very happy to be here with you today. Inshallah, I'll try to speak to you a little bit about my background. I'll speak to you a little bit about the field in which I study. And inshallah, I'll try to give you some tips and some advice. I want to begin by mentioning that everything that Moulana Abedi told you today is much more important than anything I will say. So please make sure that you keep Moulana Abedi's message in your mind. The benefit of our ruh, the benefit of our soul is much more important than the benefit of our dunyawi needs. So the lesson that he gave you today in terms of your spiritual needs is much more important than anything I will tell you today. But inshallah, if you give me a few minutes of your time, I'll tell you a little bit about my background and my field and the things that I've learned over the years. Inshallah, I can share that with you today. The topic of the Al-ZAHRA youth camp here today in this series is human values. The value that I want to talk to you about today, inshallah, I'll try to change the values each day. The value I want to talk to you about today is the value of goals. Human beings naturally have goals. We always want to ask ourselves, where did we come from? Where are we going? And what are we doing in this world? What's the purpose of our existence? What are we trying to achieve? What are we trying to accomplish? This is part of the natural human existence. I want to talk to you guys about living a goal-oriented life. We want to make sure that when we're living in this world, we are pursuing a goal. We have to have an aim, we have to have a focus, we have to be moving in a certain direction. What I'm going to talk to you guys about today, to begin, is the type of goals that I have seen in my life, just to give you a taste of my experience. And then inshallah, I'll also share with you a little bit of the goals and things that I have seen in the aerospace industry, which is my field of study. And then I'll show you guys maybe a small demonstration. We'll talk a little bit about some of the principles of sciences in the aerospace field. I'll share that with you guys. And then time permitting, I want to close the loop and talk a little bit about the goals that I think you all should have before you leave here today, inshallah. So this is a quick slide. I'm not going to take too long on my background, but just so you're aware of it, since we're meeting each other for the first time, I wanted to make sure that you know where I'm coming from. I was born in New York City. My parents moved to America in the 1980s, in the early 80s. I was born in New York City, and I went to aviation high school. In aviation high school, I learned some trades, some skills that led me towards the aviation sector. I graduated from there in 2004. I went to the Georgia Institute of Technology, and at the Georgia Institute of Technology, which is in Atlanta, Georgia, I went and obtained my Bachelor of Science in Aerospace Engineering. I obtained my Master of Science in Aerospace Engineering, and I obtained my PhD in Aerospace Engineering, and I graduated in 2016. After that, I moved to France, and in France, I began teaching aerospace engineering subjects. Over there, I opened a research lab, and I worked for the European Commission. I'll tell you some of the topics that I studied for them. And then I moved back to Georgia Institute of Technology in Atlanta after I finished my time in France. And right now, at the Georgia Institute of Technology, I study as a research engineer on some projects for NASA. And I also work as an instructor. I'm a lecturer in aerospace engineering. I lecture on aerospace courses. So I'll show you some of that as well. So when I began at aviation high school, I wanted to show you guys a quick video of my experience where I learned about aviation. So this is a short video, but inshallah it will give you a little bit of a taste of my school. This is the school where I began. I did my high school in this school. It's called Aviation High School. So Aviation High School is a school where you come to learn how to maintain aircraft. You learn aircraft maintenance. These are some of the engines and the shop classes that we learn, hands-on skills to repair, to maintain, to overhaul aircraft. This is one of the aircraft that we have in the school. This is a Boeing 727 aircraft. It's a retired aircraft. We have a lot of shop classes. We have a lot of classes where we learn about the principles of aviation. So we learn about the community and what it takes to build an aircraft, what it takes to put the aircraft together, how do we repair the engine, how do we repair the wings, how do we maintain the structure. This is what we learn in aviation high school. Another thing that we do in aviation high school is that we obtain, if you are a top of your class, you can test to get the certification from the government to have your license. The license that I obtained from aviation high school is a license from the Federal Aviation Administration of America. The Federal Aviation Administration, they give you a license to work on the aircraft. There's two licenses. The first license is an airframe license to work on the body of the aircraft. The second license is a power plant license. The power plant license is to work on the engine of the aircraft. In France, I began teaching. So this is actually a photo of me in a classroom with an engineer from Airbus. Airbus is one of the manufacturers, one of the companies that builds airplanes. They build very big airplanes in the world. There's two companies that build airplanes in the world that are the biggest players. There are some small companies. The biggest companies are Boeing and Airbus. Boeing is the company that builds airplanes in America. Airbus is the company that builds airplanes in Europe. So Boeing is in America, Airbus is in Europe. Okay, they build airplanes and they assemble the airplanes together. So this is one of the airplanes that they make. Inshallah, I'll talk to you about this airplane tomorrow. This is one of my colleagues. He's a structural engineer. He works at Airbus. He came to my class to give a presentation, like I am giving you a presentation today. Okay, when I was at UTL, I lived in an aerospace research lab. In the aerospace research lab, I did research for the European Commission. At the European Commission, I studied for them supersonic aircraft. That's the first type of aircraft I learned about, the supersonic aircraft. The second one is called unmanned aerial vehicles. An unmanned aerial vehicle is an aircraft that does not have a pilot. This is an unmanned aerial vehicle. No pilot is inside. The aircraft is controlled from the ground. Okay, so you have control from the ground, and the aircraft flies to its destination. So this is something that I studied. After I finished my work for researching for the European Commission. The European Commission is the government of Europe. Okay. So after I finished my work for the European Commission, I had to do some publications. I had to publish my research. So I did a research publication in a journal article, and I did about 5 conference papers. And this is my team. I was presenting with my team at the conference, the Aerospace Europe Conference in 2020. This is a picture of the work that we did. Here is the work that I do right now. I'm back in Atlanta and I study. I do 2 research projects for NASA. I'll talk to you guys about those. And here are some of the courses that I teach. So the classes that I teach are Introduction to Aerospace. I teach Dynamics of Rigid Body Motion. I teach Thermodynamics, Fluid Fundamentals, Aircraft Design, and Advanced Design Methods. These are some of the areas that alhamdulillah I've been able to teach classes on. I also do 2 research projects for NASA. One is called Zero Emissions. The Zero Emissions Research Project, it starts with the letter K. Kerosene, exactly, very good. A jet engine uses kerosene fuel. So kerosene fuel is the type of engine that we use. The problem with kerosene is that it creates a lot of emissions in the atmosphere. It releases carbon dioxide, it releases nitrous oxide. Okay, carbon dioxide and nitrous oxide are the 2 big emissions released by the jet engine from the combustion of kerosene. So we want to try and reduce these emissions, so I'm studying for NASA. How can we reduce these emissions? The second project that I work on is called the Hybrid Electric Propulsion System. This is the Electrified Powertrain Flight Demonstration Program. In this program, we are trying to create a hybrid airplane. A hybrid airplane has a regular jet engine. It also has a battery and an electric motor. We combine together the battery and electric motor with the jet engine in order to make a more fuel-efficient airplane. So I'm studying this topic for NASA. Okay. So this is a little bit about my background. I also wanted to tell you a little bit about the aerospace industry itself. I wanted to tell you about the industry and tell you, what makes up the industry and what are the different parts of the industry and how can we learn what the main areas of study in the industry are. So I'll say that to you here. So the aerospace industry governs all of the aspects of engineering sciences that are involved in making an aircraft fly. This can be space vehicles, like satellites, like airplanes. This can also be rockets. Rockets can be powered in different ways. We have chemical rockets. We also have liquid rockets. These are a lot of the different areas that we can study. So we have fixed-wing aircraft, rotorcraft, hypersonic vehicles, or like rockets that move very fast. This is an area of study. So I wanted to share that with you guys so you have an idea of what are the different aerospace industries. I also wanted to tell you one other important
because an aerospace vehicle is very complex. Because it's complex, you need a lot of different experts. And the experts have to come together in order to actually build the vehicle. So for example, if you go to Georgia Tech, like I did, you can learn about aerodynamics. Okay? In Bangalore, they actually have IIT. IIT does a very good job of teaching aerodynamics as well. So if you learn aerodynamics, that will make you an aerodynamicist. You will be an expert in aeroflows over aircraft bodies. However, just because you know aerodynamics does not mean you can make an airplane. In order to make an airplane, you also need propulsion. So you have to have propulsion. In addition to propulsion, because you need an engine. So the engine is the propulsion. In addition to the propulsion, you also have to have a strong structure. The structure has to contain the aircraft. It has to contain the passengers. It has to hold the engine. It has to hold the wings, right? So this is all required. So you also have to have guidance and control. You have to be able to shape the aircraft and control the direction. We're going to talk a little bit about that today, and we're going to experiment with you guys. Okay. All right. And so you also have to be able to control the aircraft. You have to be able to turn the aircraft. And you have to be able to take it up and take it down. Right? So this is all part of that. So what I wanted to show you here is that in aerospace, we have a lot of different disciplines that we need in order to create the aerospace vehicle. Right? So I wanted to share that with you. This is why we call the aerospace industry a multidisciplinary industry. It's multidisciplinary because you need a lot of disciplines to come together and work in a team to make an aerospace vehicle. So I wanted to share that with you. So aerospace industry is multidisciplinary. All right. The other thing I wanted to talk to you guys about here was aerospace sciences. Okay, so the sciences that we have in aerospace, they include things like flight dynamics. They include the study of the atmosphere. They also include the study of space. We have to understand how the atmosphere interacts with space in order to design our satellites and our rockets. We also have these ideas of lift and drag, propulsion, structures, guidance, navigation, control, and more topics. I'm going to talk to you guys about some of these topics tomorrow. Today, I want to talk to you more about lift and drag. Okay, so these are some of the first forces that we have on an aircraft. So I want to show you the forces that we have on a basic aircraft in steady flight. When we say that an airplane is in steady flight, what we mean is that this is just a very toy aircraft, very simple airplane. When we have a steady aircraft flying in steady flight, the aircraft is not increasing altitude, it's not decreasing altitude, it's just flying steady and level. It has a balance of forces on the aircraft. Okay? This is a balance of forces. Now, the main forces that exist on an aircraft are four. The four forces that are most important on an aircraft in flight are going to be the lift. The lift force is generated by the wings, and the lift force carries the aircraft up. The lift force must counteract, it must oppose the weight force. The weight force is coming from gravity, and it's pulling the aircraft down. So we have to have a balance between lift and weight in order to maintain altitude. Okay. All right, the other two forces that we have on an aircraft are thrust and drag. The thrust force is moving the airplane forward. Experiment. Okay. An aircraft always has two very important points on the aircraft in order for it to fly. The 2 points that an aircraft always has is called the center of gravity and the center of pressure. Okay? The center of gravity is something that exists on every mass, every body that exists in the universe. A plane, if I want to draw it at one location, I can draw it at one point. And it's usually pretty easy to find the center of gravity. It's not hard. So for example, if I find the balance point of the glider somewhere over here, I can see the line. This is the center of gravity location. Okay. So the center of gravity exists on everything. If the chair you are sitting in has a center of gravity. Okay. Now, we can rotation between the center is where we have the lift force acting. So you can see the lift force that I was showing the aircraft down. Okay? So if the center of gravity is here, it's pulling the aircraft down. The center of pressure is pulling the aircraft up. So if I have a down force and an up force, if they are not aligned perfectly, what will happen? I will get rotation. Okay, so if my center of gravity is pulling down, my center of pressure is pulling up, I will get rotation. If I get rotation on an aircraft, that's not good. When I have rotation, the aircraft cannot fly straight. So it will not cover a lot of distance, it will just fall. Okay? This is what happens when we don't have good alignment between the center of gravity and the center of pressure. Okay. Alright, so what we're going to do here is we're going to do an experiment to show you what the alignment is. Okay, so I'm going to throw the glider. Okay. When I throw the glider, I want you to watch carefully how far does it fly. Everybody ready? Don't be scared, okay? It's just a very simple glider, it's not going to hurt. Okay? Alright, but I need your help. You can bring it back to me when you get it. Yeah. Okay. Bring it back to me. Thank you very much. Okay, so do you see how far the glider went? Okay, alright, now, what we're going to do is, we're going to change the center of gravity location. Okay, so the way that I'm going to change the center of gravity is I'm going to take some Play-Doh. Very simple, just kids' toy, right? I'm going to take some Play-Doh and I'm going to change the location of the center of gravity. So, here is the center of gravity. Take some Play-Doh. And I'm going to put some Play-Doh in 3 locations. I'm going to put some Play-Doh in the front, on top of the wing, and I'm going to put some Play-Doh in the back on the tail. Okay? When I do that, I'm changing the location of the center of gravity by changing the mass distribution on the aircraft. So let's start from the back. So I'll put some Play-Doh on the back. Now we'll fly it. Ready? Okay. What happened? So why did it fall? I had misalignment between the center of gravity and the center of pressure. They were pointing in different places. I got rotation. When you get rotation, you don't have a good flight. Okay? Alright, let's change the location one more time. So now I'm putting the mass distribution in the middle. So now the weight is in the middle on top of the wing. Okay, so now the center of gravity, when the weight was in the back here, the center of gravity was towards the back. Now I added more weight to the middle, so the center of gravity has moved up, it's moved forward. Let's see how it flies now. Okay. Not as good. Let's see what we can do. So we're going to change the location one more time. Now, I'm going to take the mass and I'm going to move it toward the front. So now the mass is on the front. Okay, let's see how it flies down. Okay, so what you notice there is that when the mass is in the front, we have changed the location of the center of gravity. What happened with the center of gravity? I moved the center of gravity forward. When I moved the center of gravity forward, I created alignment between the center of gravity and the center of pressure. The center of gravity was aligned with the center of pressure. When you have alignment of forces, the flight can last much longer because you have alignment of the forces. Okay? I want to return to the topic that we talked about today, which is creating goals in our lives. Okay? It's really important to recognize when you live your life in this world, you're going to have different forces acting on your life. You're going to have external forces that you cannot control. You're going to have internal forces that you can control, that come from you. The alignment of these forces, if it's misaligned, if it's not symbol that they tell you is, if you can, how much control does man have? Okay? If they ask you, you can say, the control that man has is that if you ask me to stand on one leg, I can pick up my foot and I can still stand. Right? If they ask you to stand, pick up both of your legs, can you stand? No. No, can't stand, right? So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us some control, but not all of the control. Okay? So when we have some control, that's like changing the center of gravity on the glider. We can move the center of gravity. This is in our control. Okay? There are some things that we cannot change. For example, the center of pressure. The center of pressure is coming from the wing, and the wing is already fixed in the location. So I can't change the wing location. This is an external force in our lives. Okay? Some things that are external to us, we cannot control. Some things that are internal to us, we can control. What we have to recognize is where the things that we can control, how do we control them? How do we decide what are we going to control so that we can bring alignment of the forces in our lives? Some things we can't control, some things we can control. How can we bring this alignment? Okay? So we have to decide, we have to choose with our mind, where are we going to invest our time? Where are we going to invest our resources, our strength? Where are we going to invest the forces that we can control internally? This is in our control. Alright, so we have to find a way to bring this alignment into our lives. Okay? The human value that I wanted to talk to you about today is the value of goals. Okay? So, when it comes to the value of goals, it's very important to have a direction. It's very important to be able to look at a particular area that you want to go to and work towards that goal. Okay? Now, you have to make sure that when you work towards goals, that the goals that you are pursuing are good goals. Okay? So the goals that we want to pursue are goals that will help us in this world, and they will also help us in the afterlife. So the goals that we want to pursue are, the things that we want to pursue in this world are goals that have benefit in the dunya, and they have benefit in the afterlife. So, there's a book that's published by Alipur-Karnataka. It's available online. If you go to this website, al-islam.org, you can find his book. It's called The Secrets of Success. I wanted to share this book with you guys. In the book, he has a little small story that I wanted to share with you. The story that he has is the idea that when we are living our lives, the life of a mu'min is not one without goals. It is not a life without direction. A mu'min knows where he is going, and he knows where he's coming from. Moulana Abedi was telling you that the one day of a mu'min is not equal to the next day of a mu'min. Our day today has to be better than our day yesterday, and tomorrow has to be better than today, right? And so a mu'min can only achieve this if they understand their goal. What are they working towards? So we have to live goal-oriented lives. We have to have a purpose. We have to have an objective. So the story that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala shares in his book, The Secret of Success, is about nature. You know, when we look at the Quran many times it asks us to look at the world around us so we can reflect. Why don't they reflect on the Quran, right? And so we want to reflect on the world around us and learn from that world. So one of the lessons that we learn from nature that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala shares in his book is a lesson about a small tree. Okay? If you take a small tree and you move it around, so let's say you take a small tree, what's a tree that we have very common in Alipur? Coconut, right? Nile tree, right? Yeah, we like the Nile tree over here. It tastes very good. Okay, so you take the Nile tree when it's small, when it's a baby. Moulana Abedi was telling you about the idea of sabr. Sabr is a requirement for insani kaam, right? Now, sabr does not mean you just sit back and you wait. That's not sabr. And sometimes we have a misunderstanding of what the word sabr means. Sabr does not mean you sit back and you wait for everything to come to you. Okay? Sabr means that you remain steadfast on your objective, on your goal. Sabr means that you fix your feet in one location and you work on that location, on that goal. Okay? So I think the best people to tell us about the goals that we should have are our ulama. Our ulama, they can tell us what are the directions, what are the goals that we should have as mu'mineen that will benefit us in this world and in the akhirah. What we have to choose to do is find the balance between the external forces and the internal forces so we can bring alignment into our lives. Work on what we can control and focus on our goals. And so try to think about those goals. Inshallah, in our next meeting, I will talk to you a little bit more about time management and being steadfast. So we'll talk about those, inshallah, tomorrow. I'm going to end my presentation for today, but I don't want to go over time. But I do want to ask you guys if you have any questions about the material that I presented, or if you guys have any questions about the aerospace industry or anything like that, I'll be happy to answer them.
I want to ask that becoming an aerospace engineer was your passion, or you just joined the aviation high school and the circumstances took you there?
No, it was my passion. So when I was young, we had a lot of relatives, a lot of my cousins, my uncles, and my khalas, uncles. We have a lot of relatives in India, in Delhi, in Pakistan. So when I was young, my parents, they used to take me back from America to visit, to India, to Pakistan, to visit our family. When I used to go to visit my family, when I was young, I was small, I remember that I was very excited about going on the trip. I was excited to see my family, but I was also excited to go to the airport. When I went to the airport, I would go to see, whenever we flew on the plane, the plane that was to fly was the Boeing 747. 747 is a jumbo jet, very big airplane. It has 4 engines on it. The engines are very big, and those engines are hanging off the wings, 2 on each side. I remember I used to stand in the airport and just look at the airplane. My parents, they saw that. They said, this person is for aviation. So they put me in the aviation high school, and Allah, from there, Allah opened the doors for me.
And also, I want to know about the Airbus and why the supersonic jets have been not used these days.
That's a very good question. Yeah, so the supersonic jets, they're no longer in use on commercial aircraft. Okay? So does anybody know what is the commercial aircraft that used to fly supersonic? There's one that we used to have. Does anybody know the name of it? This was the Concorde. The Concorde was one supersonic aircraft that we had in commercial service. The Concorde, the problem with it, the reason that it went out of service is that it was not economically viable. The business case did not make sense for it anymore. Meaning that when the Concorde flies supersonically, you have to provide a lot of fuel. It consumes a lot of kerosene in order to fly supersonically. So it costs a lot of money to operate the Concorde. In addition to costing a lot of money, the other problem that it had is that it had some accidents. It had some failures. There were 2 Concordes that were lost. There were only 20 that were built. 2 of them were lost in accidents. So because of the accident and because of the high cost of operation, the Concorde eventually went out of service. There was one other factor that was very important about the Concorde that caused the Concorde to retire, which was the noise problem. The Concorde flies supersonically. Because it flies supersonically, whenever you fly supersonically means you're flying faster than the speed of sound. When you fly faster than the speed of sound, you create a pressure shock wave. The shock wave is a very loud, what we call a sonic boom. A sonic boom is very loud. If we have a sonic boom come, it can hurt, it can break some of the glass if we have glass. And it caused a lot of problems for the residents not being economically viable. It was not a good idea, it's not a good business case to fly the Concorde. So there are many different reasons. These are a few of them why the Concorde does not operate anymore.
About the Airbus.
The Airbus makes, they make a lot of different things, right? So Airbus makes, they started with the A300, which was in the 1970s, I think, the A300. Now they have A320, A330, A340, A380. They have many different aircraft. So it really depends on which aircraft you're talking about. But what Airbus did is they focused on a part of the market where there's more demand. So the more demand is in the part of the market where you can fly, not at a supersonic speed, but you can still fly much faster than a car. So if you can fly faster than a car, and you can keep the price of the ticket reasonable, it's easier because your operating cost is not high. It's not high because you're not flying supersonic. You're just flying subsonically. It's still faster than a car, so you have high demand, but you don't use as much fuel. Because you don't use as much fuel, your operating cost is lower. When your operating cost is lower, that's a better economically viable business case. So that's why you see a lot of Airbus aircraft, they're still operating, but the Concorde does not operate anymore.
So obviously being an aerospace engineer is in itself a great achievement. I would like to ask, how did you manage being an aerospace engineer, and like how an aeroplane balances all the forces? How did you balance both deen and dunya at the time?
This is very hard to do. It's not easy.
It's obviously very hard to do.
So it's not easy. I think that in every area of our lives, okay, we have experts, right? So when you have a medical problem, you go to the doctor. Okay? When you need to learn about engineering, you go to the expert, the professor who can teach you about engineering. Okay? When you want to make sure that you have a good balance between deen and dunya, you have to go to the experts who can tell you what is the right balance between deen and dunya. And so I think that in order to achieve this proper balance, we have to educate ourselves about both. The problem is, it's very easy to educate ourselves about dunya. Dunya is everywhere. It's very easy. We can see it, we can feel it, we can touch it, we can hold it. Very easy to learn about dunya. The part, and also Shaitan is on your side. If you want to learn about dunya, Shaitan will teach you everything about dunya. Right? He will teach you TikTok, he will teach you everything you need, YouTube, Instagram. Dunya is everywhere. Okay? The dunya is easy to learn. Okay? The hard part is learning about the deen. Okay? And in order to learn the deen, you have to go to the experts about the deen. So we have to turn to our ulama, and we have to spend time with them. We have to understand the value of what they are offering us, what they're teaching us. Right? And the value of that message about the deen and the akhirah is much more than the value of this aerospace or engineering or doctor or lawyer, any of those things. That's why when I began to speak today, I wanted to emphasize that the message that Moulana Abedi shared with you today is much more important for your lives than the message that I shared with you. The message I shared is nothing, it's just dunya. Right? But the message about our akhirah and our deen is much more important. So we have to spend time with the ulama. We have to educate ourselves by reading the education and the knowledge that they have shared with us. And this knowledge, we have no excuse not to read it and to educate ourselves about it. It's available on the internet. It's very easy to find. There's no cost to it. You just download the book. You can download the PDF file. And you can just read and learn and educate ourselves. We have so many literature in English, in Urdu, in Hindi. There's so much literature available. You just have to take the time to educate yourself. So this is the only way. We have to educate ourselves and spend time with the ulama.
Thank you, sir. Wasim Muhammad son of Nabi Razal.
Very good.
So you said that the center of gravity pulls the plane toward, and the center of pressure, that is lift pressure, pulls the planes upward. One of the pressure is very low against each other. How did the plane balance?
Say that again. The last one.
If one of these pressure is very low, how did the plane balance?
So what I showed you before, this balance that we have here is for steady level flight. Okay, so for So this is the designation that they use to refer to small planes, big planes. I'll show you some pictures tomorrow.
Thank you, sir. Good morning, Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam.
You said many things about time management, self-discipline and sabr. So my question is about, say something about your opinion. How did you manage your time and how did you also sabr and control? And also, how is your self-discipline? And what was your first goal? Same as how you are now, or else something in your childhood you have become something different than what now you are. I just wanted to ask about something, say detail about you.
Yeah, sure. No, that's absolutely fine. No, the answer to your question is, no, I am not the same today as I was when I was your age, for example. Okay, when I was your age, I was different than what I am today. Okay? So for example, when I was young, one of the things that I liked to do a lot was video games. So I played a lot of video games when I was young. So I don't know if you guys play video games now, but that's something that I used to do. And I enjoyed doing it with my friends, with my cousins, with my relatives. It's something that I enjoy doing. And when my parents told me to do my homework, I was not excited to do my homework. But eventually what you see is that when you look around yourself, and you look and you see individuals who have different positions in life, okay? It's what you can learn from them is the path that they took in their life to get to their position. Right? So you can say, okay, well, I see there is a doctor. Well, what did he do to become a doctor? So he must have taken some education. I see there's an engineer. What did he do to become an engineer? So you can see some education. Today in my presentation, I showed you some of the education that I took in my career. Right? You can see some people maybe who are not as successful, and you can say, well, what did he do to become less than successful? If you look at an alim, which is the most highest success that we can have in this dunya, right? If you look at alim, where did they become? How did they become an alim? What was the training that they took? Where did they study? How did they go to the hawza? How did they learn all of this knowledge about the akhirah and the deen at the same time? And this is, probably the best kind of education that we can get. So if you look at these different people and you say, how do I take a lesson from these people? Which one do I want to become? So somewhere in my life, I saw that there was something that I wanted to become, and I decided I don't want to be like this person, I want to be like that person. So then I asked myself, what can I do to become like this person? So you speak to them, you get consultation from them, you ask them questions. Remember Moulana was saying, the best thing you have to do here is ask questions. So you have to see who are the people that you want to be like, and who are the people who don't want to be like them. So how do you avoid being like these people? And how do you become like the people that you want to? So you have to find a role model, you have to find a goal, an objective, something that you want to become. Right? And then you follow in those footsteps, and inshallah Allah will help you to attain that position. Okay? So this is, you have to learn from the people who are in those positions. Oh, sure.
Like 4 questions for the ladies. Yeah, if any questions the girls can ask. अगर कोई सवाल रहा तो आप पूछ सकते हैं ladies.
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam.
There are many goals in our life, yet we are confused which goal to be selected to become a successful person. I request you to give some best tips to select best goal to be a successful person in life.
So I don't know if I'm the best person to give advice on this. I don't consider myself successful, so I would look at the people that I think are successful and understand what is their position. So I think when I look at the people who I think are successful, I look at where do they dedicate their lives, right? So it's not important what you end up becoming in this world. Whatever you end up becoming in this world is temporary. It's not going to last long. What is important is what do we become in the akhirah. Okay, so if you want to make sure that you become the right person in the akhirah, you have to learn from people who are educated about that position. right? And so this is why, if we look at, for example, the life of Imam Khomeini, he was not necessarily, an expert in engineering, for example, right? But what he was, everything that he did fi sabilillah. Everything that he did was for Allah. And we would say, if we look at it, this is a insan al-kamil. This is a perfect example of perfection. So, if for us, the same thing exists, is how can we educate ourselves by everything that we do for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Everything that we achieve is in that path. Okay, now, in the small, short term, the difference is going to be, are we going to decide to get an education in, has to be correct, right? If our niyyah is correct, then it doesn't matter exactly where we end in this dunya, what matters is where we end in the akhirah, right? And so in that sense, I would say that just keep your niyyah correct and follow whatever position you make. We might say that success is somebody who wears a nice suit, maybe he has a lot of money, right? And so we say, oh, this person is successful. That's not necessarily success in the eyes of the Ahlul Bayt. If we ask the Ahlul Bayt what is success, right? Their answer will be different, right? And so when it comes to understanding, for example, the first part of your question was, if you have a certain goal, but you end up at a different position later on in life, that's okay. That does not mean you're unsuccessful. Because as I mentioned before, we have some things that are in our control, we have some things that are not in our control. And Allah is the best of planners, Allah khayrul makirin. So if Allah is the best of planners, and we make our best effort, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He decides what's best for you is actually over here. So He takes us from the goal that we had in mind, and He takes us to a different goal. As long as we are doing our best effort, and Allah takes us to a different goal, then that is the best goal for us. Because whatever Allah plans for us, that's the best for us. So sometimes the best outcome is the one that God takes you to, even if you weren't working for that one specifically. So the best thing that we can do is focus on doing the best of our ability. So we always reflect the best of the akhlaq, the best of our effort, the best of our...
How to be stable and focus on our intent.
Yeah, so this is another challenge that we have, right? Anytime that we are working towards our goals, there are these external forces. The external forces are not in our control, and they can change the direction that we're going to go with, right? And so we have to remind ourselves of our ultimate goal, right? Our ultimate goal is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So if we are pursuing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and that is where we want to reach, the Qurb Ilahi is our goal, then it doesn't matter if we get shifted a little bit to the right, or we get shifted a little bit to the left, because ultimately Allah is taking care of us. We trust that Allah is protecting us in our journey towards Him. So if we get moved a little bit off to this side or to that side, we still continue our best effort, and we have that sabr that Allah was talking about. The sabr is the important part, to persevere, to continue, even if you get shifted off of your direction. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the best of planners. He will take us to whatever He knows is best for us if our niyyah and our heart is for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So I think we don't be so concerned about what is the outcome. We concern ourselves with what our responsibility is. If we fulfill our responsibility, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will take care of the outcome.
I'm grateful to you, thank you. And I'm Hafiza Fatima, daughter of Syed Hussain.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. While kerosene is only used as fuel in the aeroplane, these are not renewable resources. If there is any substance which is used to fly the aeroplane in future.
Very good question. Okay, so kerosene is used as a fuel in aircraft primarily because aircraft depend very much on weight. The weight of the aircraft is very important in the flight. The heavier the aircraft is, the shorter the distance that it can fly, which means that it has a lot of energy per unit volume.
life and our goals. And a beautiful reference in the book with Allah Subhanahu Secret Success. Thank you. And however, our SHAH-E-KARBALA organization and Al-Bala organization, I really extend my vote of thanks. Great speaker, Dr. Zaidi, and for raising your important opinions and your findings in science and aerospace. We are glad and privileged